Hello, everybody. How are you all doing? Happy Christmas riot weekend. That's all it is. I don't really get. When I moved to America, people kept wishing me happy Thanksgiving, and it was like this big, huge deal to them. Now in Canada, we have a holiday called Thanksgiving, but it's in October, and it's really just a long weekend, and it's really not that big a deal because Halloween's in 2 weeks, and that's when we're really going to be partying. So it's just not that big a deal. Here in America, it's like this really weird tradition where everybody gorges themselves on as much food as they possibly can so they have the energy to beat the shit out of each other for cheap DVD players for the next 3 days. And I don't really get it, but some of your customs I find very interesting. I find them very baffling. But I chose to live in this country. I love it. So I love you all. And like I've said, you enunciate your words so much, and I think it's why y'all give such great blowjobs. So even better. There you go. There is a campaign right now by someone, and I can't be arsed to look it up, but it's called Make Aunt Betty Feel Awkward This Thanksgiving, and it's essentially saying that at family gatherings, we have to stop, as gay people, we need to stop allowing our family members and just the awkwardness, to browbeat us into being quiet and not talking about ourselves and our families and how laws affect us. The only way that we're actually going to get any kind of legal equality is essentially by talking and talking and talking and talking about it. And if that makes Aunt Betty feel a little awkward, well, oh well. And I got an email from somebody asking me, do I have any Thanksgiving horror stories? He comes from a relatively conservative family and said that every year they say all these bizarrely passive-aggressive things during dinner, and it's very obvious that they're getting a bit of a kick out of kind of having a go at him for being gay. And his family has said, oh, well, just don't talk about it and don't say this, and this is what we'll say, and we'll just, and it really kind of struck me, and he asked me if I've ever had a Thanksgiving horror story. Well, I haven't had a Thanksgiving horror story, but I have a sort of 9-month separated dual horror story that started with, I wasn't even 9 months, it was maybe 6 months, with my sister's first, I would have been, first wedding, I don't know, I've lost count, and culminating with the following Christmas. Now, here's the deal. I was not, and am honestly still not, on speaking terms with my sister. She outed me in in college, and tried to convince my parents to stop paying for school for me, and tried to make my life as difficult as possible. I have no idea really why, maybe because our parents liked me better. And wouldn't you? I mean, anyway, that's really mean to say, but hey, we're among friends, we can tell the truth, right? And so when she got married, everybody threw this big, huge conniption fit saying that I absolutely had to, be an usher at the wedding, and I'm like, nah, I really don't want to, and I'm sort of, I don't like her, I don't like him, I don't want to do this, and straight people, there's too many in the same room at once, just gives me the heebies, I don't know, it's just, not a thing. And of course, everybody in my family, totally lost their shit, and I just decided one day, I'm going to play along, I'm going to see exactly how far they're going to push it, because generally people like that will essentially push until you break, and then they blame it on you. Right, because we're all supposed to essentially just continuously bend over for them. I know there's a joke in there, but I'm not going for it just yet. Okay, so I did in fact go to the wedding, and I had to be an usher, so I just kind of went, I'm going to play along. I'm going to see exactly how far they're willing to push it. I could go on for hours about what a torturous day, and honestly, sort of months long, lead up to that it was. All I can say is that the pièce de résistance was when the minister, who looked, sounded, and really acted like Dolores Umbridge from the Harry Potter books, she made a point of making eye contact with me twice during the ceremony when she reminded the audience that it's not a real marriage unless there's children. And I'm like, bitch, you're way the fuck over there. I'm here, I'm the couple getting married, they were over there, standing right in front of you. You don't gotta preach, it was just, you could tell that she was getting a really big kick out of it, but, whatever. Okay, so, 6 months later, I made the mistake of going back to visit them at Christmas time. And I didn't really have anywhere to go yet, and Carlo and I weren't living together yet, and he had some big, huge things, so I just kind of went, yeah, okay, fucking, I'll go visit my family. Big mistake. So they sit me down next to Dolores Umbridge and her husband, and my family started to do what they always do, which is that they were so mortified that people might talk and feel awkward that I had to twist myself into pretzel shapes to lie to people without actually lying to people, right? It was that whole sort of, this is what we'll say. Oh, well, when they're asking you where you're working, oh, well, just say this. And when they ask you if you're dating anybody, well, just say this. When they ask you what part of town you live in, oh, well, just say that. And if they ask you this, well, just say this. Because I worked at a gay bar and I lived in the gay area and I was dating a Southern Italian man named Carlo who eventually would become my husband of the last nearly 20 years. So I win. But anyway, so, I got the whole this is what we'll say. And of course, this is the Atlantic provinces where people have no lives. And they don't just take this is what we'll say for an answer. You can't just say, oh, I work at a restaurant, because they're going to pry as much information out of you as they possibly can. And they won't just they won't take like, oh, I haven't met the right girl yet as an answer. They will continuously pry and ask you what kind of girls you like and have a guess, and maybe you'd like to meet this, but like they're really, there's a reason that I have not been back there for 20 years. Which is that I really can't stand it. I know I'm going to get all sorts of emails from people who, live in like fucking Halifax and Moncton. Listen, I've been to Moncton. Okay, it's kind of like Buffalo, but not as pretty and a lot smaller. So don't fucking start with me. And if you've been to Buffalo, you know what an unbelievably obnoxious thing that was to say. I'm so proud of that. I gotta make Christmas cards that say that. Anyway, so during this Christmas dinner, the Dolores Umbridge and her husband take it upon themselves to start prying into my personal life. And it's not like I was in the closet, and it's not like I was trying to hide being gay. I, quite honestly, just didn't want to fucking deal with it, because first of all, I didn't really like them that much. And it just wasn't worth, honestly, the amount of drama that it was going to cause with my parents, who were just desperately hoping that I would go back in the closet and start dating girls, because that would make them more comfortable, right? Because it's all about making them more comfortable, which is where this is where we came from the I'm going to make Aunt Betty feel awkward thing. It's all about making them feel comfortable. So, Jason, where do you work? Well, I'm just working at a bar. What kind of bar? Well, it's a dance club. Yeah, but what sort of dance club? I mean, it's dance music. They play like, Madonna and I don't know, the B-52s and, Hedwig. There actually was a singer named Hedwig back then. And then it was, yes, but what sort of clientele? Well, dance music fans, younger, like 19 to 22. But what sort of people? Young people who like dance music and alcohol. I don't know how to answer the question that you're asking. And then it was like, well, when people are sitting at the tables, we went to a nightclub once. And, there's always some story about, oh, we went to a nightclub once, like, that makes you all fucking special. And it was this whole sort of like, do you have to do it? And I'm like, listen, it's just a dance club, and they just wouldn't let it go. And I started to get kind of obnoxious with my answers because I really didn't want to talk about it. And I started talking louder and louder and louder. And, of course, there was sort of a bit of an awkward silence when it became very clear that I was just not in the fucking mood. And after dinner and everybody went home, my family had the fucking balls to, to blame me for it and get sort of in my face that, I caused a scene. At which point I started yelling and screaming, and as I recall, frisbeeing the Wedgwood dishes across the kitchen. It's not like my children are gonna fucking, and I'm not they're ugly anyway, they look like pajamas. It was a very angry moment, but it was also a turning point for my whole family. Not much longer after that, my family, in fact, started going to PFLAG meetings. because they saw exactly how angry I was, and they saw that unless they were willing to at least attempt to sort of meet me halfway, I was out of the family, and I was out of the family for good. Not long after that, my parents started becoming very active in PFLAG, marching in parades. My mother actually was keynote speaker at the Moncton Gay Pride Day once, so there, all you people from Moncton who were pissed at me for calling your city ugly and boring. And small. Yeah. And, and now she refers to me as the married one. She doesn't call my sister the serial monogamist anymore. But I talk about how the newest husband is, I call him the sperm donor, because at this point I say, I've often said, you get one marriage, after that, they're sperm donors. That's it. That's all they are. And I know it's really obnoxious, but, she did out me in college and try to get my parents to stop, paying for it. So I'm just a little bitter. The point is, if you really want a little bit of equality, and if you want a little bit of respect, revolutions are messy. Big changes are difficult, and you're gonna have to make Aunt Betty feel awkward at Thanksgiving. Because it's her turn. You've kind of knuckled under enough at this point, and it's time for some respect to be given to you now. So there you go. Everybody have a really great Christmas riot weekend. I hope you're having a good time regardless of where you are. I am going to a sex party. Okay, it's actually called Kinky Thanksgiving. It's just over at a friend's place, and everyone's going to dress up in leather, and they're going to eat turkey, and I'm going to eat tofurkey, and drink martinis and listen to music. I don't know, depending on how many martinis, we'll see where the evening goes. It's not actually a sex party, but it did sound cooler to say that. And saying something like that at Thanksgiving would be awkward. Keep asking me questions.